شكرا موسكو ومرحبا بكم في لندن. تستغل الأحزاب اليمينية المتطرفة في القارة الأوروبية ظروف الهجرة واللجوء لإثارة المخاوف والرعب في المجتمع، وذلك بقصد كسب أكبر قدر ممكن من التأييد الشعبي في حملاتها الانتخابية. أحد هذه الأحزاب الموجودة هنا في بريطانيا هو حزب الاستقلال البريطاني المعروف بحزب يوكيب، وهذا الحزب يواجه الآن حملة انتخابية لاختيار أو انتخاب زعيم جديد له خلفا لنايجل فاراج. نايجل فاراج قاد حملة ناجحة خلال الاستفتاء الشعبي التي أدت نتيجته إلى انسحاب بريطانيا من الاتحاد الأوروبي. واحدة من الشخصيات التي تنافس على زعامة حزب يوكيب هي إليزابيث جونز. إليزابيث جونز سيدة محامية وتريد أن تتزعم حزب يوكيب. إليزابيث جونز، مرحبا بك في استوديو لندن مع حسن زيتوني. Welcome to our studio RT. We would like to start by asking you about UKIP.
Yes.
Why did you choose to join UKIP?
I chose to join UKIP because I was extremely grieved at the military invasion of Iraq and the military invasion of Afghanistan. I thought it was absolutely appalling and irresponsible, and of course with the benefit of hindsight we can all see that that was a rather misguided approach to take. I thought it was absolutely extraordinary that a government could get into power and undertake this reckless task. So I thought, well, which are other political parties? What can I do to make my voice amplified? So I thought I'll join UKIP because UKIP have always had a policy of non-aggression and non-military interventionism.
It's very strange that you refer to international events rather than national events taking place in the United Kingdom, mainly the immigration, the refugees, which constitute the foundation or the base upon which parties like UKIP gain popularity.
That's correct. We have one of our platform bases is, of course, immigration. I did mention the military intervention to start with because, of course, that has had a huge impact now on where we find the world to be now. So, and that's really what brought me in. But thereafter, yes, the immigration policy has been very important. I'm wholly supportive of it, and I will be standing as one of the UKIP leadership candidates, and one of my platform policies will be immigration. It is the number
Before
one policy.
we speak about your program, yes, I would like to ask you, you are, your function or your job in society is a lawyer. You are, yes, a lawyer. Why did you choose politics?
I'm a family lawyer. I chose politics because I was absolutely appalled, as I mentioned earlier, that a government can get into a power and basically it's a 5-year dictatorship. We can do nothing to stop them engaging in policies that we think are not necessarily in the interest of the country. It's like being on a bucking bronco for 5 years. There's nothing we can do. And I thought, my goodness, this has got to end. We've got to have a voice and we've got to have some control over the government. So I joined UKIP. Also because of the platform for removal from the EU. I've been very supportive of that. In fact, my parents were active campaigners to leave the EU in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. The party has existed for quite many years now in the UK, but you have only one MP at Westminster. Does this mean that the party is not as popular as it claims to be within the British society?
No, I don't think that's what it means. It takes a very, very, very long time for political parties to gain traction and popularity with the public. UKIP is very young, it's about 23 years old. The Labour Party, Conservative Party, and indeed the Liberal Party, they're over 100 years old. All of them are old, well-established parties, and it takes a lot of time to gain the electorate's trust and confidence in a party for us to gain MPs. I certainly don't think it's a sign of lack of popularity. If we look at the 2014 European election, we got the single largest contingent of MEPs of any other political party. We won. 2014, we won that election. 2015, we got 4 million votes in the general election. And again, in the referendum this year, we got 17.5 million votes supporting Leave.
Do you question the electoral system itself? Do you call for proportional representation in order to have some more seats within the parliament?
Well, of course, the United Kingdom is based on a constituency-style election, first past the post. It results in clearer policy decision-making. and it's going to be a long time yet before proportional representation would come to these shores. Douglas Carswell, our MP, is very, very keen for proportional representation. It's a policy that we are investigating, but we have to deal with what we have now. We have first past the post, and we will have to organise accordingly to achieve success in that system.
UKIP gained a good reputation and popularity during the referendum campaign by convincing people that Britain is better outside the the European Union. Are you, as a party, trying to exploit that success now for the future of the party?
Well, for a start,
building on it?
We are going to build on it, but let's not forget we're still in the European Union. Yes, we've had a referendum that gave a clear voice that we wanted to leave as a nation, but we're still in the European Parliament. We're still paying the financial contributions. We're still tied in to those crazy regulations about toasters and bananas, and it would appear to me we're going to be tied in for some time yet. So
the people don't want that?
I don't think people want that at all. If you look at the map of the constituencies that voted leave, as you can see, a lot were in Wales, a lot were in Kent, a lot were in the north of England. Those people certainly won't want that.
Are you accusing the Prime Minister, Theresa May, and the Conservative of delaying the exit?
I think so, yes. I think Theresa May is delaying the exit. She may well come up with various rationales. For instance, I dare say she would be saying she's waiting until November to see who wins the US presidential election. Is it going to be Trump? If it's Trump, he's declared that Britain will be first in the queue with trade deals. If it's Clinton, less so, because I believe she was quite supportive of the EU. So I'm sure Theresa May's working out
Isn't that wise?
rationale. Yes, it's wise up to a point, but I can see no harm whatsoever in invoking Article 50 now to get the train on the rail track. Let's get some movement here. We've got absolutely no movement.
So you are against the idea of delaying it until December or January?
No, I say start now. The process is going to take so long anyway. There's going to be so much detailed negotiation that the sooner we start, the better. Why waste time?
مشاهدينا يمكنكم متابعة هذه الحلقة من استوديو لندن وواشنطن وبيروت عبر موقعنا arabic.rt.com. This will lead us to go back to your leadership contest for the leadership of the UKIP party. Can you briefly tell us what are your main objectives and to convince people to vote for you as a leader?
My main objective will be immigration. It's still a very important policy. I would say it's the #1 policy in the United Kingdom and with the electorate.
Immigration, cut it, add it,
well, we would like to aim
control it?
We would like to aim for zero migration. So basically, the same amount of people leaving the country balances with the same amount of people entering the country, so that we can manage our resources properly and effectively. We would also like to review sham marriages. Sham marriages are a cause of significant heartache and disruption in people's lives. And I think perhaps it's about time to consider whether immigration marriage fraud should be made a crime.
Those are the main issues for you?
Those are some of the issues. Also, there is the issue about opportunity. We want to ensure that there's equal opportunity for all, with particularly education and jobs. We want to return to the grammar school system, whereby at 11, children would sit an exam. If they achieved success in that exam, they would enter the grammar school system, which was equivalent to private education quality. And that resulted in a huge flowering of talent in this country. We had Kate Bush, she's from a grammar school, Alan Bennett, one of our leading playwrights, from a grammar school, and one of our great comedians, Victoria Wood, who, awfully sad she recently died, all from grammar schools. We simply don't have that great flowering of talent now. It's not nurtured.
UKIP is accused of being an extremist right-wing party. They compare it to the National Front in France, to other groups in Austria and Germany. Are you extremist?
What is your definition of extremist? The number of times I've been called right-wing, racist. You ask the person who's throwing these insults at you, what exactly do you mean? And they can never tell you. What exactly does it mean? Yes, we're a frank and forthright party. Yes, we're a party that is not afraid to discuss quite controversial topics. If that makes you far right or racist, well, so be it. It's about freedom of speech, and it's about the flow of ideas. So racism, no, that's an easy insult to hurl, and frankly, it's getting very, very old.
For instance, do you accept that immigration contributed and still contributing positively in British society?
Absolutely, 100%, because that's why we want to be able to monitor it and ensure the quality of the people entering the United Kingdom. At the moment, there is simply no quality control of people coming in from the EU, and let's not forget, we are still in the EU. So we don't have quality control. We want to control our own borders so we can decide who comes here. Of course, migration has brought us great benefits. If we look back to about the 1880s, there was a big influx of Lithuanian Jewish people. As a result of that, we had Marks and Spencers, Burton's, Debenhams, a great flowering of our retail business. So with each wave of migration, we get benefits.
What about the blacks coming from the Caribbean, from Africa?
Great benefit again. Many of these people were involved in building the infrastructure, the construction of our country, have been the backbone of the NHS, supplying nursing skills, and of course on a more high life level, of course they've been great footballers, great sportsmen, and models, fashion models, which of course is very important. It may sound trivial, but of course this is a fantastic propaganda tool for Britain.
What's your reaction to Lisa Duffy, who is also contesting the leadership of UKIP, by saying that she will close all Muslim schools in the United Kingdom? Isn't that racism?
It's a difficult one because essentially UKIP is a libertarian party and we believe in a small state and lower taxes, and for people to make their own way in their lives, make their own decisions. It's a difficult one because does that mean then that every other faith is allowed to have a school? So it's a bit of a balance. I don't know what she's trying to say. Is she trying to say then that Hindu schools and Jewish schools should be banned as well? I think perhaps she needs to consider to flesh that out a bit more.
Now, some commentators are saying that there is no way that Lisa Jones or Lisa Duffy or all those 6 or 5 will replace Nigel Farage. He's unique and it's difficult to replace. Do you agree with that?
Oh, of course. Nigel has left us an outstanding legacy. He's an extraordinarily charismatic and popular person, very, very warm, always has a word for everyone. At whatever strata of society you're at, he's always got a kind word and a smile for everyone. So very, very good with the public. No one could replace him. It's like trying to replace, I don't know, like trying to replace Luciano Pavarotti as one of the world's greatest opera singers. It can't be done.
Do you think that the current difficulties on the leadership context and Wolf is no longer on the list is part of that because Nigel Farage is no longer there? Do you relate it to that, or there are other reasons for cancelling the nomination of Wolf, Stephen Wolf?
I'm on the National Executive Committee and I'm one of the leadership candidates, so I've had to recuse myself from much of this debate. So I haven't really been involved at all in the discussions about Stephen Wolf. All I've read is probably what you've read, that it was down to a missed deadline, and that happens.
17 minutes?
That happens. I'm a lawyer and I know how very, very strict the courts are. They expect documents in 12 noon on Monday the 8th of August. If they're not in, they're not coming in. We have rules for a purpose, to ensure smooth progress of administration of a party, and these have to be respected. In a way, I think it shows how we've become a truly democratic party and we're moving away from cronyism. The very fact that such a high flyer can be caught by a rule.
We are witnessing some kind of change, difficult change taking place in Europe, including the United Kingdom, and mainly this wave of terrorism and terrorist acts, which has been exploited by extremist parties in Europe in order to gain popularity. First of all, where do you stand on the issue of fighting terrorism? How will you challenge the fundamentalists and the extremists who are behind such atrocities in European societies?
Number one, we will simply not militarily engage with them on a national basis. There's absolutely no point going abroad going to other people's countries and bombing their homes, their roads, their schools, their shops, to no end. A complete waste of time. The intervention in Syria, the intervention in Afghanistan, and I would say in Libya, has not really achieved the success that people thought it would. So that's no. So no military intervention. Number two, we want to have border control. At the moment, we do not have border control because of our membership of the EU. Border control will enable us to monitor who's coming in and out, so that we won't have the mystery people who can come in and come across the whole of Europe perhaps from Syria, Iraq, without being monitored at all. They will be monitored, and we'll know who's coming in. Three, I think that the police have to take a more proactive stance with regard to hate preachers in this country. So at the local mosque, if you have some person there or a guest speaker who's making the most inflammatory remarks, they have to be charged and they have to go through due process. I understand that the police are taking a somewhat relaxed approach to this, and that isn't the way forward. These hate preachers have to be brought to task about their comments.
How do you impose the control?
Well, the border control.
No, on the preachers, on the mosques. People would
on the
say
mosques,
that's an attempt to civil liberties and attack on civil liberties.
I don't think it's an attack on civil liberties at all, because it is now a crime to express the views that some of these hate preachers do, and it is a crime to incite other people to commit crimes against the people that some of these hate preachers focus on. It is a crime. They are being monitored. We know this for a fact, that these mosques with these preachers are being monitored, and the police should take a more proactive stance. If they knew that they were going to spend time in prison or be subject to a significant financial fine, I think this behaviour would stop.
As you know, Lisa, there is a wave of what we call hate crime following the results of the referendum, and many people have been affected by that. Where does UKIP stand on this issue locally?
Well, hate crime cuts both ways. When I was campaigning to leave, we used to set up a weekly street stall in Brixton, and my chairman is mixed race, and one of our great volunteers was a young black chap, and he was actually physically assaulted. He had some young white woman coming up to him, accusing him of all sorts of being a racist, if you can believe that, and she stamped on his foot. Our volunteers were assaulted, shouted at, threatened, but that is the that's the Remain people threatening leave, which we decided not to raise the temperature. We decided not to go to the police, not to really publicise all of this, because we knew that the emotionality would pass. And I think it more or less has. Now, with regard to all these allegations about hate crime, I do not accept that they have happened in the numbers that people have been saying. Much of this
registered 1,200 cases?
Well, that's the police registering cases. What does that actually mean? Is that someone having an argument on Facebook? Is that someone having an argument on Twitter? Is that someone even just having a dispute about, oh, well, I voted Leave, well, I voted Remain, oh, I don't like you anymore? Probably something even as trivial as that. And there was a very significant, and I would say malign, misreporting of an alleged racist incident, I would say by the Evening Standard. There's a Polish cultural centre called POSK in Hammersmith, and there's been a lot of intellectual debate within the Polish community about Leave, Remain, and what would be best for the Polish community in Poland and obviously in Britain. They've been rival think tanks, and someone sprayed across the front of POSK, it's a swear word beginning with F and ending in K, OMP. OMP is a Polish think tank which supports Brexit. So the rival Polish think tank had come along, OMP, basically to say that they opposed OMP. Evening Standard reported this as a racist incident. It completely is not. It is simply aggression between rival think tanks and rival ideas. So you can see how things get twisted, misrepresented, and converted to a hate crime when in fact they're not.
You are contesting for the leadership
Yes.
of UKIP. You want to be a leader. How will you handle the 4 million Europeans living in the United Kingdom following the Brexit? Will they stay? Will you allow them to stay, or they have to leave? What is the situation? How will you handle this? It's a very sensitive issue.
It's
because it's related to their security, to their children who have children here. What is it? Where do you stand on this?
It's a very sensitive issue. Of course, if people have made their homes here and perhaps they've applied for British passports and that's in process now, then of course they'll stay. We have to think about what's best for the economy, and is it best for the economy that such a large group of people remain here? Are they contributing fiscally? Are they contributing to the administration of the country? These things need to be investigated and considered. So I can't say that it would be a blanket yes, they'd all stay. I can't say it would be a blanket no, they'd all go. It depends on the benefit to the economy.
Are you aware of the fact that there are over 2 million British citizens living in Europe, in the continent?
Of course, there always has been.
Will you be taking into account their interests during the debate, the negotiations?
Of course we will. Of course. I don't see there'll be any difficulty whatsoever. As I understand, a majority of those people are in Spain, and they're retired people who have invested perhaps their life savings or a very large capital sum in purchasing Spanish property and buying Spanish goods. Perhaps they're getting their pensions paid to them through Spanish banks. So it's a benefit to Spain. I don't see that that would be any burden to Spain whatsoever.
Do you think that leaving the European Union will affect in any shape or form the mainly security arrangements between the United Kingdom and European counterparts, mainly France and Germany?
I wouldn't have thought so at all. I'm sure that France and Germany simply do not want the civil disorder and would of course only be too glad to assist with us. And of course we've got to remember that Britain's view is a world view, and we've been very lucky in this country in that we've had very few terrorist attacks of this nature, unlike poor France. And I think that's largely due to the fact that we have such an international outlook, and we can reach out easily to Pakistan, we can reach out to Saudi Arabia, we can reach out to Syria and Egypt and get information direct from these countries, which is often very, very helpful indeed. And we're very grateful for that relationship.
There is, economically, there is a big concern now about Brexiting the European Union and the effect on people's lives, mainly mortgages, buying houses, things like that. Are you optimistic that the economy will improve and that Britain will replace the loss that they can incur by leaving the European Union and replacing them with other partners?
Very much so. Of course, I think it's going to be a golden era of trade and opportunity for this country. It's like being released from handcuffs. I think the country will absolutely blossom. We'll have the opportunity to enter into trade deals with the entire world. We'll be able to buy agricultural produce from Africa freely. There won't be the problem with tariffs. We can set up in our own country a lot of inward capital from all around the world. We don't have to focus on the EU. I think it's going to be fantastic. I've heard in the newspapers and on the radio that perhaps house prices may decrease. Well, in London, that would be a very good idea. I think it would take a lot of pressure off our problem with housing generally, especially for youngsters. I feel absolutely optimistic. I think it's going to be fine.
مشاهدينا، يمكنكم متابعة هذه الحلقة من استوديو لندن وبيروت وواشنطن عبر موقعنا arabic.rt.com. The last few minutes we focus on UKIP as a party, the future. Now can you explain us the process? You are going to get involved into debate, contacting the grassroots of the party,
That's
explaining your policies. How does it work? Is it different from the other parties, your way, the system?
No, I don't think so. What's going to happen as of Monday, the 8th of August, we have national hustings in all the 12 regions of the United Kingdom. The first one on Monday is in Gateshead, and we'll be having hustings of competitive debates in Belfast, in Scotland, in Wales, all around the country. And the leadership candidates are invited to attend those meetings, to give a speech, and then to enter into competitive hustings.
Who are you targeting, you and Liz Jones?
I'm going to be targeting the southeast. That would be the Essex, Kent and Surrey areas, which are very pro-leave. I shall also be focusing on Wales. My family are Welsh, so I have that natural affinity. And I'll also be concentrating on some of the areas in the north east of the country.
And comparing to the other candidates, the other rivals, what are your chances?
Who can tell? It's a bit difficult to say now. What with Stephen Wolfe being removed, we have Diane James. She's a popular candidate who introduced her candidacy very late in the day. But who can tell? Everything seems to be up for grabs. After all, don't forget last year when we had the Labour leadership contest, everyone said Andy Burnham was going to walk it. And look what happened, the dark horse won. Who knows? Watch this space.
We wish you very good luck, of course, from our point of view. We know that you are not an extremist. We know Lisa has got a certain position which concerns the British society. You are an open-minded person. If the contest is done and someone is elected, how do you see the future of UKIP?
I see the future of UKIP moving toward an activist campaigning strategy. We need to now focus on 2020 and get a lot more MPs into Westminster. So it's all going to be about campaigning. It's all going to be about increasing the membership base, getting more branches and more funding.
And targeting the youth, are you targeting the youth mainly because they didn't participate in the referendum? The majority shied away from
Well, we have a very strong youth wing called YI. And I think a lot of young people did actually vote, and a surprisingly high number actually voted to leave. So that is something that we would like to nurture. And of course, we want to increase our youth base because our youth are the people who go out there and do the legwork, the leafleting, the canvassing, very energetic people. They've got the energy in the legs to do it. So we would certainly embrace that for sure.
I thought you were going to say that without Farage we cannot go forward.
Oh, we can. We will. No one can replace Nigel Farage. The man is outstanding, an outstanding performer. But parties evolve and change. We'll simply change direction and tack. But I'm sure we will achieve success.
Do you expect to win seats in the next general election?
Yes, definitely.
How many?
I would say we should be able to get more than the Lib Dems because we did so well in the referendum in the northeast. So I think that should result and convert into seats because many of the MPs of those constituencies were staunch Remain people. So there seems to be an inbuilt conflict between the MP and the constituency, which we will be seeking to exploit.
And the results of the leadership is on the
15th of September.
Up till then, Lisa, thank you very much indeed for granting us this opportunity. مشاهدينا نشكركم على المتابعة ونعود بكم مباشرة إلى موسكو لمتابعة بقية برامجنا. شكرا لكم على المتابعة وإلى اللقاء.
Thank you.
Thanks.